internet, welcome. This is Sierra, and at this moment I am feeling pretty much like America/Japan's nerdiest mom. Why? I'm going to tell you guys about that in just a minute. But before we get into that, if you are new around here, my name is Sierra and I'm an American who lives in Japan. Every week I make a new video about my family's life here, lush being vegan and trying to live a little bit more sustainably. And this video is going to be one of those life in Japan type videos. If you clicked over here from my last homeschool video, if you didn't click over, it's up in the cards for you if you want to check that out. In that video I explained a little bit more about why we've decided to homeschool our son rather than sending him to Japanese school or sending him to the school on our base. And in this video today we're going to be talking about the curriculum choices that we have made for our preschool age son for the summer and into the fall. Even though it's June, we've decided to film this video now because I already ordered all of our school supplies and I really want to start using them, but I want to show them to you guys before they get all messed up and weird looking. So I figured it'd be better to film this video now and then start using them through the summer to prevent regression than to use them, make them look not so great in the video, and then show them to you guys later. If you guys are interested in my thoughts on these curriculums for children who have been adopted, or if you're just interested in my thoughts on these curriculums in general in the end of the year, maybe I'll make a video about that for you guys. If that's something that you do want, please let me know in the comments so I know what you want me to make, because it's hard for me sometimes to come up with content ideas if I don't know what you guys want out of my channel. So without further ado, let's get into our haul for this school year. We've decided for the next year that rather than working on all core subjects for kindergarten, we have decided that we want to work on the 3 R's, which are reading, writing, and arithmetic. Which I guess it'd be arithmetic, but reading, writing, and math. And the reason I want to do that is because those are the 3 most important things when it comes to education, and if children don't have a good foundation in reading and writing, which they will then use later for history courses and other courses that require research, it's going to be more difficult for them. And the same thing with math, because for things like science, they have to know not only reading and writing, but science also requires a good amount of math. So we've decided to focus on those now and then revisit that decision in the fall/middle of the year. Before I made this decision, I spent a lot of time speaking to friends of mine who homeschool in our area. We have a really good homeschool group, so if any of you guys are watching, thank you guys for coming over from the homeschool group. And a lot of them are really helpful in sharing their thoughts on different resources for kindergartners or kids that struggle a little bit to kind of help pick up reading and writing. And because my son is an English language learner, having only been learning English for about 8 months, I feel like I wanted to choose something that would be really good for him. Alright, so let's get into it. I guess we're just going to start with the 3 R's in order, although there's only 1 R, and the only R is reading. And I did choose to use the same company for both reading and writing because the curriculums seem to work really well together, and to be frank, I liked both of their curriculums a lot. And that company that I decided to use is The Good and the Beautiful. Now, my copy of this book looks a little bit different than your average homeschool book, and that's because one of the reasons I chose The Good and the Beautiful is because you have the option of a digital download, which is a little bit cheaper than the spiral bound version. And after thinking about it for a while, I decided to go with the downloadable version because our son is pretty young and all this information is new to him. He's bound to make mistakes, and these books for homeschool are typically what's called a consumable, meaning the children write directly into the book. And I figured that if I had the downloadable version, not only could I reprint it if I wanted to in the future for other kids, if my son had a really difficult time with a certain activity, that's totally fine. I could just reprint another page for him to try again the next day, or we could try again later after we check it together or whatever. So I thought that was a really cool option. Also, the other reason I chose specifically The Good and the Beautiful is because they offer, I think it is age 1 through 5 reading curriculum for free on their website. So when your kid is in year 1 through year 5, you can just go to their website and download the curriculum, printable of course, and then all you'd have to do is buy the readers that go along with it. The other reason I chose The Good and the Beautiful is because, as the name states, that's probably why it's called The Good and the Beautiful. According to my friend and then my own experience looking into the downloaded pages, it's a really, really good curriculum based on my background in teaching ELLs to read. And I do have some experience in teaching older children who have never had the chance to learn how to read before. And overall, I think it's a really good curriculum. It starts out with letter sounds and then it goes into putting sounds together, and then goes into putting sounds into words, and then words into sentences, and then sentences into stories, which is really awesome. And then in addition to that, because it's called The Good and the Beautiful, it really, really is beautiful. And that's one of the reasons that I chose it, because I wanted something beautiful and I wanted something engaging. So I'll just pull out the first lesson for you guys to check out. We wrote on it a little bit because they're supposed to write in the book, and I've already done it. But if you look at the very first page here, there's an activity where they have to put buttons or coins on the little hearts and say the names of the letters and their sounds. And as soon as little man saw this page, he was just like, oh, pretty color. And so of course every single time I pull out this book, he's really excited because he knows that whatever activity we're going to do is going to be fun and colorful. And the other thing I like, just like most kindergarten curriculums, is it has a lot of manipulatives. There is one lesson here, I think it's the cloud lesson that we've already done. I don't know why I didn't bring here, but the cloud lesson looks like this. And after they finish the activity, they're supposed to take cotton balls and glue them onto the clouds, which was really fun, and he loved it. We actually used packing peanuts, but he didn't know the difference because he can't read the instructions yet, and he's a preschooler and he doesn't really care, and it was really fun. So that was really great for him. And then other thing I really liked about it is that they seem to have a lot of little games that kind of trick them into learning and practicing their learning. So let's look at, for example, a lesson that we did the other day. Basically has kind of like a board game. They have to say the name of the letter and then move to the next letter, and because he felt like he was accomplishing something, he loved it. And the next day he asked again, he said, "Mama, game animals?" And I was just like, yes, we can play the animal game again, little man. Let's do it, because you have no idea that you are practicing what you learned in the lesson yesterday. And actually he does that most days because he remembers what he learned before, which is awesome. And if all the Good and the Beautiful curriculums are like this for my kid and he continues to love it, I don't see any reason why I wouldn't continue to use it. So moving on, let's get on to the writing curriculum from the Good and the Beautiful. Once again, with the Good and the Beautiful, for the handwriting, you have the option of choosing to buy a digital download, which is a little bit cheaper versus buying the actual spiral bound book. And again, for the same reasons, I figured that since I don't know how difficult this writing is going to be for him, I decided it would be easier for us, and again cheaper in the long run if we have more kids, to just buy the digital download than be able to print those copies again every year. So it looks like this. It's orange. Now you'll just have to imagine what it's supposed to look like. It's just a spiral bound book that has a really pretty orange cover on it, but it's what we got. And how often does your kid look at the cover? He doesn't look at the cover. Anyway, and then once again, the inside of it, again, is very good and it's really beautiful. What I really love about it so far, little man loves it too, is that the pages are really self-explanatory and pretty simple, and so it's something that he can do independently when I'm doing something like preparing lunch, and he has a really great time with it. And usually what is on it, as you guys see, most of the pages have a writing activity and then either a coloring activity or some kind of like motor activity. What are you doing here? Guys, we have a visitor.
Hi.
Hey. Oh, look at your hair. Oh my goodness. That's morning hair. Well, it's nap hair. It's like 4:30 right now. You tired?
No.
No. Is that why your eyes are all steamy? You still have a mosquito bite right there. You do. I'm sorry. I'm showing everybody your school. What kind of animal is that?
Horse.
It's a horse. Good job. Yeah. So as I was saying, the more I look at this curriculum, the more I realize that this is kind of more fine motor than it is actually like letter practice and writing. But for where he's at developmentally, I think it'll be really good. Okay, so that concludes writing curriculum. Now let's move on to mathematics. When I sat down to start researching and choosing our math curriculum, I feel like I did probably a little bit too much research for math. And again, I spoke to friends, I looked at reviews, but the most valuable resource to me was a friend of mine who lives out in Arizona. Hi, I know that you're watching, or at least I hope that you're watching. I think you watch all of my videos. Anyway, she taught kindergarten for a number of years out in Arizona, and this is the math curriculum that they use in their school, and she said that if she were a homeschool mom, that this is the curriculum that she would absolutely use with her kids. And the same curriculum is pretty popular within the homeschool group that we have here, so I thought if I had struggles, I could maybe have some support in that. And that program I decided to choose is Singapore Math. Singapore Math is apparently the best math program in the world according to test scores, and so I figured if I really want to give my son a good foundation, then this is probably the system that I want to go with. And if it doesn't work out in kindergarten, when it comes to first grade, I can just change it to something else. For this year for kindergarten, we'll be using the Dimensions Math Singapore program, and I got 3 books. I got the teacher's guide, which is basically just kind of the lesson plans, and it tells you exactly what to do and when. And it really depends on who you are, but me myself as a teacher, looking back and looking at this curriculum guide, I'm not necessarily sure if I really need it for teaching the course, because the instructions in the workbook and textbook are pretty self-explanatory. But what I did like about it is that it kind of gives you a few other ideas of enrichment and things that you can do. So for example, I'll just turn to a random page. In the beginning of lesson 3, before you even actually start teaching the content of the lesson, they give you either an idea of a game or an activity or like a list of questions that you can ask your child, just like any other good curriculum would. And it's always relevant to the lesson. And at the end of each lesson, there is a little section where if your child is doing really well with it or you feel like your child wants to go deeper, there's always an extension. So if your kid is really getting it and you have extra time and the time you have allotted, you could do the extension. And if you don't want to do it during your typical lesson time, you could always do the extension as like a warm-up for the next day, which I think is pretty neat. Anyway, that's that. And then it came with, as I said, the 2 books that go along with the curriculum. Let's look at the textbook first. This is the KA textbook. There's also a KB, which is the second half of the school year. And then for the same reason as the Good and the Beautiful, I'm really liking the Singapore math because, again, the inside of the textbook and the workbook are just really beautiful and brightly colored and engaging. And I feel like even I want to look at it. So if I want to look at it and I want to do school by myself, then my son will definitely want to look at it. And as soon as I opened the box and little man saw it, I went into the kitchen to do something and I came out and I found him in the living room looking at the book, not doing the activity, but counting the animals and telling me all the names of the animals. So I think he's really going to love this curriculum. Again, the only thing that I don't like about the textbook and the workbook is, again, they are consumables. So if a digital download were available, I'd probably choose that because I wouldn't be able to reuse it for the next kid. I could make photocopies, but to be honest, at this point, we don't know for sure if we're gonna have any more kids or adopt any more kids. So if I were just to make copies, it'd be kind of a waste. And then the workbook is, again, pretty similar to the textbook, but it's just kind of like extra practice. But the activities in the workbook, again, go along with what was taught in the lesson, so it's really good for enrichment / extra practice. And again, like I showed you guys before, the workbook, just like the textbook, is really beautiful and engaging. And I don't think when little man was looking at it that he was any less interested in the workbook than he was in the textbook. So anything that's engaging and colorful is, of course, going to be really good for kids, especially kids who love books and colors. And my son loves books and colors. So anyway, that concludes my little curriculum haul and kind of my mini pre-review of my thoughts on the curriculums that we've chosen for level K this year. If you guys have any questions about why I made the decisions that I've made, or any questions about my decision to homeschool, or anything that you guys want to ask me, I guess you can leave it down in the comment section. I'll either answer them directly for you, or maybe I'll make a Q&A video later. I haven't decided yet. Other than that, I am all set. So thank you guys so much for watching. Please make sure to like if you like it, dislike if you didn't like it, and let me know what you thought in the comments, and I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you guys for watching. Bye!